For many companies, finding the right IT platform isn't just about features. It's about security, efficiency, and cost optimization. With so many options, from Microsoft 365 to Google Workspace and beyond, how do they make the right choice? To help break it down, I've called in an expert, Sean Ferrel, CEO of Managed Solution, to help navigate the technology selection process and uncover the best strategies for maximizing IT investments.
Sean, thank you so much for meeting me here today. We want to find out how companies should approach IT platform selection with so many business technology platforms available. Can you speak to that?
The first thing that we need to do is realize that the places and the companies that we're buying our technology from, there's a lot of consolidation happening. So when we talk about the Microsoft 365s or Microsoft in general, or the Google platforms, Amazons, the Salesforces, all of those companies are building tools into something that's more supportable. It gets us down the road of looking at things like AI because we're able to now have data and intellectual property that we've created in a centralized repository. And ultimately, we can do it in a secure way. But big picture, when we look at IT strategies and how we look at total cost of ownership and budgeting, it's important we look at all aspects of software we own, infrastructures that house our data, and how people are supporting it. Because if you don't, you have a very segmented department, and it can end up costing us more in the long run than versus planning up front.
Okay, so instead of looking for new tools, businesses should focus on optimizing existing IT investments. And you spoke to them a little bit before, but could you elaborate on some of those platforms that are already existing that most companies rely on?
You know, I would say the two primary platforms that most businesses, are running today are either Microsoft, as they call it, the Microsoft 365 platform, or they're using Google Docs or Google Apps. Both great tools, as we call it, modern work tools in the workplace. But what's funny about it is that within those investments we made in these software platforms, there's a lot that sits outside of the traditional things like email and office suites that we use, things like security that are already part of the investment we made into our licensing and potentially, partially into the cloud. We've done a lot of that already. We don't know it as businesses. So doing more with less means essentially looking, a bit deeper into what you might already own, both as we call it in your infrastructure and in your software platforms, and seeing if there's tools that exist that might, ultimately help your users, your businesses, and really, as we talk about the total cost of ownership.
So many companies could be saving on IT costs by using what they already have. Do you think that we'll see more vendor or technology consolidation in the future with IT?
I do. I do. I think that, when you look at the tip of the spear and big organizations like Microsoft or Google or Apple or any of these big companies, we talk about AI up here. These big companies also realize that to be able to produce these unique business functions, automation in our business, we need to have platforms that they all build, hence consolidation within their own technology stack that allows us to get down that road of having automation and AI. So when we look at products like Microsoft or Google and we have day-to-day productivity apps, email and like word processing things, or financial sheets with Excel or Google Docs, ultimately these companies are building in these tools, these platforms to store our data, these platforms to share our data, and ultimately the intellectual property we've created or built into our companies. A lot of these companies are making it so you can put all of this onto their platform and then take it to the next level, which is what we consider the AI revolution, and really move the needle for the business.
Sean, can I ask you, in your industry, do you think the technology spending for businesses is a little bit siloed in the IT department specifically?
I do. I do. I think in today's day and age, whether you're insourcing or outsourcing IT, I think a lot of the time we're looking at what kind of people do we need, or what kind of outsourced support do we need, and we're really not open to looking at the other things that are important, such as software you're using and ultimately what it's doing for the business, or where your intellectual property in your business exists on premise in the cloud, how it's secured. And ultimately, if you allow the financial conversation to happen, combine that with business outcomes you're trying to achieve, looking at all these things under one umbrella, you end up with a much better strategy going forward, where the right people are supporting the right processes, and ultimately the technology you're using is advantageous to the businesses that it serves up. So looking at all things is important, whether you're doing it externally or internally, And I think that's something that all CFOs and financial decision makers should be thinking about.
Sean, this is fascinating. Do you have any final thoughts?
I do. I can't stress enough, and we talked about this in a previous interview, which was fascinating for me too, by the way. It's important that we let internal or external IT departments that we're working with look at everything that we're using from a technology perspective. If we do that, and if we have the time to really create a strategic roadmap or essentially something based upon your business objectives, it's magic. I mean, this is where we can get into really taking business outcomes like AI or making sure that our companies are compliant or secure or understanding how we manage employees in the remote workplaces. These are things that if we can have that conversation by talking about the bigger picture, not just who are the people supporting it, but ultimately the tools we're using, the outcome is much more vast and becomes more strategic to the business, which is the key to making successful IT support work in today's world.
Absolutely fantastic, Sean. Thank you so much again for your insight.
Yeah, I'd love it. Thank you for having me.
Looks like we've solved another one. Finding the best IT platform isn't about having the most tools. It's about making smarter technology investments. If your company is looking to optimize IT spend and make smarter technology decisions, Managed Solution can help. Call them today to start building an IT strategy that works for your business.